Let's talk about synchronicities. Hi, I'm Rebecca, and this is Inner Power Training. Have you had synchronicities in your life? They are actually an indication that you're connected to your higher self and you're living in flow, and you might even be living your purpose. We're all living our purpose to a certain extent, but some of us do it more consciously than others. Many people are trying to figure out what their purpose is. And I used to meet a lot of them when I was giving seminars. I trained people to connect with their higher self by getting to that alpha level of consciousness where you're in a different frequency. Your brain is vibrating at a different frequency, and you're more in touch with your inner world, which is more real than your outer world. But let's get to synchronicity. When I was a little girl, I had an imaginary friend. Her name was Deoaya. She had blonde hair and blue eyes, and she lived behind the house that I grew up in down by the river. And she was very real to me. I talked to her all the time when I first started talking. And I was reminded of it when I got a little bit older by my mother, especially, said I just talked to her constantly. Deowaya was her name. And later on, when I was much older, I think I was in my late 30s, living in an apartment, one of my brothers showed up who was a musician, and he had a friend with him that he had met, another fellow musician who got out his guitar and started singing a song about Deowaya. And I said, "Who is Deowaya?" And he said, "Oh, she's an Irish witch." That kind of shocked me. I've tried to find her on the internet and tried to find that song about Deowaya, but I haven't been able to. I only met him that one time, the fellow that came and sang the song to me. But that was kind of an interesting synchronicity. Um, there have been many others in my life. Meeting the right people at the right time is can be very synchronistic. I've told you this story before, how I happened to go work for United Airlines after I was rejected by TWA after 3 interviews, which kind of shocked me. And then I got hired by Eastern Airlines down in Miami, but I didn't want to go live in Miami. And I decided to go work for United, even though my name is Tripp, which I didn't realize at the time. The founder of Pan American Airways was named Juan Tripp. And I used to hear from the passengers all the time, "Are you Juan Tripp's daughter by any chance? Are you related to him, the founder of Pan American?" And I'd go, "Well, why would I be here if that was the case? No, 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 no." And he had an E at the end of Tripp, Trippe. So I used to say too, well, he's a different kind of Tripp. But guess what? After I retired from United, I met his son, Charlie Tripp, Trippe, and he just happened to have bought, of all the houses on the planet, the house that I hung out in for a period in my high school days because it was my high school boyfriend's house in my hometown. And he sailed into Westport, where I'm from, and bought that house. And, I got to talk to him about Pan American. They were by that time bankrupt. Um, that's another indication to me that my higher self knew how to put me in the right situation with the right airline at the time, because the airline I went to work for did not go bankrupt. They're still operating. And I had a wonderful 35-year career with them, traveling the world. We ended up flying Pan American's routes to Asia, and I flew Europe, I flew South America, I flew all over the world. Even though when I first started, it was a domestic airline. So some of us seem to be guided throughout our lives. I've always gone back to that experience I had in 1966 where I saw 3 UFOs up close. I mean, they were right over my head. Each one was about as big as a small automobile, round, saucer shaped, with a nice little smooth dome on top, ringed with blinking orangey reddish lights, doing the right angle turns, and no noise over the Atlantic Ocean. They flew right in from the Martha's Vineyard area and were hovering over my head as I got out of the car to get a better look. And then they quit back out to sea. But I am convinced that I was there for a reason and I saw them for a reason, because after that, I had a completely open mind about everything. I mean, I believe that you can manifest if you believe it. I believe that you can heal yourself, absolutely, of anything. You just need to have an open mind, and you need to know um, some techniques, which are always important. That's why I've done courses. That's why I trained people all over the country for 5 years. I gave them a class that taught them how to get to that level of consciousness where you can shift into a state where you are connected and you can, in fact, perform what you can call miracles. But the miraculous is actually very natural. And the supernatural, that we like to call supernatural, is natural. We have innate gifts, hidden powers, and synchronicities are pointing us always in the right direction. So when you have synchronicities and the phone rings at the right time, you think of something and then it happens, or you write it down in the present tense and you're able to manifest it because you believe that once you feel like you've already gotten it, it is yours. You are on the path. Now, you don't want to be stuck in the three-dimensional world all the time with those limiting beliefs. You want to find out how you can expand your consciousness and go to those higher levels, communicating with your higher self on a daily basis so that you're never alone, you're never frustrated, you never feel stuck, you know there's always a way out, and you're on the path to more and more and more enlightenment. You know, it never ends. There's always something new to learn, but at least you've stepped into the zone where you can start to examine and study and experience these amazing, amazing things that we're capable of doing in these times that we're living in. And if you want to know more, go to my website, rebeccatripp.com, because I just wrote these two books. I have a book that came out a few years ago called Secrets of a Metaphysical Flight Attendant, which is a page turner. And it explains how I got interested in all of this. But then I have these other two books about manifesting that just came out. And if you go on my website, rebeccatripp.com, you'll be able to check it out. I also have a couple of courses. It's so important to keep yourself aligned, keep yourself above it all. Don't get down into the crazy, fearful thinking that is always being forced upon the masses. Don't go there. Rise above it. Come out and be separate. It's your birthright.